Good day, fine crypto snipers. Yes, it is Friday. It's Friday indeed. Looking forward to coming at you. Thank you very much for all the little puppy likes that you gave me to my face there with that little thumbs up button. Patang, patang, patang. Hit it right now. Appreciate that. Don't forget always to hit always when you hit the bell, because you get unalways to occasionally. That's what the algorithm does. So do that too. Good stuff. We're going to be talking about crypto today. Thank you for coming on board. Bitcoin. And we've had a clear signal that it's quite likely that this is our turning point for an amazing structure that is going to bring great joy. It's going to cheer you up in this totalitarian dystopian world. The one thing is you're going to have token go up coming your way, which could help a little bit, buy a little bit of freedom. All your other serfs that are sitting there that are not crypto wise are going to watch their fiats melt away into little bits of nothingness, their tax levels come up, their cost of living coming up, the tax margins coming down. They're going to be in a squeezy Japanese prison. That's right. That's how it works. So don't forget to also follow the Market Sniper, which is all about the FX. There's been a big theme. I've actually been doing a lot to the Market Sniper, big theme, and it was playing a little bit with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was kind of holding to dollar strength. Dollar strength, now it's met a technical level where it's probably going to rest and pull back. Euro weakness. So why has that got anything to do with crypto? Because as I've always said, crypto was awakened as this separate little world. It kind of had a tiny little umbilical cord to the rest of the world. It was like a different realm. People were escaping. They were all libertarians. We're free. We're going to have our own financial system. We're going to have all of this lovely stuff. And there was just this tiny little umbilical cord for freedom seekers from the real world to escape into this virtual safe haven, because suddenly you'd found a clever way to cheat those people that say you will never have your own money. The way I control you is by my owning central cartels that control the money supply, tax you into a cinder, and control the flow of money so that you can be inflation taxed, as is happening right now as oil goes up. Oh, you'll see in Bloomberg, oh dear, Bloomberg. Oh, what a little mouthpiece of mainstream vomit. Oh, your coffee is going up because fires in the jungle and the climate change thing. It's all happening. It's climate change, you know, like there's never been fires in the Brazilian jungle, like they haven't been hacking away at that jungle, the likes of Exxon and all the oil companies, so that they could poison the river and poison indigenous tribes while they were extracting oil for good old Rockefeller. Oh no, none of those things ever happened before. It's suddenly become a problem. No, my friends, it is fiat proliferation that is bringing inflation, and they will be telling you climate change, because your natural gas goes up in price. Is that climate change too? Oh man, everything is going to go up. Western Texas crude is going up. That's right, in spite of a firm dollar. So what's happening is inflation is being forced onto the Europeans, the Japanese, and the rest of the world, and FX emerging. My friends, my poor friends, South Africa, Turkey, Brazil, India. Where's the arrow from India? Here he is. He's always there. Crypto sniper, no spiller in Manila. It's going to be a spike. Anyway, so yeah, all these people, particularly, you're going to feel the wrath of inflation, and your governments are going to be facing debt problems. Here's what's, I'm telling you the future news. You think this is a crypto channel. You want to understand the news, because this is going to be driving your future. You want to know why Erdogan was talking smack about Bitcoin? Because he has to. The alternatives in his country is gold, silver, and crypto. And it's a big problem. And people are sick and tired of seeing their proliferate away Turkish lira, trying harder, and becoming less and more insignificant. Inflation, higher. That is the great macroeconomic game that you are facing right now in a macro context. And you want to be, right now, short the euro and general FX emergings. So if you are living in South Africa, Turkey, one of the countries, South Latin America, most of your independent currencies, Argentina, you know, all of them, you got to be aware, including even as fairly smart countries like Korea and one. The only exceptions is, funny enough, the Russians are doing okay. Why? Because of the oil and the energies. They pulling it out the ground. So Canada might have a little bit of that effect, but they slightly kept okay with oil and energies. I still expect them to give up ground against the dollar. Australia less on the energy side, but other commodities like iron. So they have a little bit of commodity support, but they don't have as much of it in the oil, the natural gas, which is running. All these things are happening. So if you understand the macro picture, you'll see how it comes down to crypto. So you had this tiny little ball with a super thin little umbilical cord to this big mothership stomach. And what's actually happening is this pipe is expanding. It's not an umbilical cord. In fact, these are going to merge into one great ball, but they've got to reflate the one side and deflate the other. And what's actually happening is all the air and the hot air and the garbage and the criminals and the cartels are all coming through that umbilical cord into this new Jupiter. And we started with just a beach ball and it's becoming a Jupiter. And you thought they were separated by nothing more than this tiny little secret cord, long, thin and tight, and it's just going to blow up. And that is the great problem. They will never let you have your money and they will own. This is why the SEC is asserting rights, power, and trying to sue Binance. They don't even have jurisdiction over Binance. Listen, I'm not batting for Binance by any means, but you saw how Bitfinex got Binance. Now Binance is getting Binance and they're getting, it's all moving to FTX. They are asserting jurisdiction. They are looking to take control. They've got this Gainsler guy. Who the hell are you? I didn't vote for you. I don't care where you are. You're not in my country. I don't give a shit about your opinion. Unfortunately, that doesn't change anything. This is the spearhead of the coming control structure into crypto. But let's talk about what we were going to talk about. That's about the movements of today. And let's go straight to the charts. Have a look at Bitcoin right up above me now as we shoot over. What you'll see is the time frame that I've thrown down for you is the daily. Oh, what a lovely daily it is. What a lovely daily it is indeed. So there was your head and shoulder. We gave you a lot of chit chat about what went on there. I'm not going to recap all of that. I'm assuming most of you are regular fans and watchers. If you're new, go watch the older videos about the head and shoulders, etc., the falling wedge, etc., etc. What have we had? Well, we're setting up now for what will be a very favorable continuation structure, in our opinion, on balance of probabilities on Twitter and anywhere else, OBP. On balance of probabilities. It is a probability game. Learn to recognize that. There's your Bart Simpson hairstyle. Up, up, up and away. There was the head and shoulder in there. Then you had the long basing out through here. That was the falling wedge. And then what's actually happened is we've reflated it. Who gave you? Come on, guys. Give some credit when it's due. 51,790. Inside our community, there will be guys from the community in here. 51,790. Be careful. You probably just run 52 and it'll be over. Bam! Running F-slap to the face. Into next week. Get back down there, boy. Smash. Down she come. Rising wedge, smash. Down she come. We were wondering and waiting if there was going to be a third leg. But much in the same as the head and shoulders. We don't take downside targets near as confidently on the bear side. Why? Macro bull. People don't understand that. First cup gold nugget. In fact, since 2011, bull, macro bull on the monthly, the yearly chart. But then we've got the super reinforcing 2.5 year major continuation pattern. Yes, we made the target for that. We are still in overperformance, raise for higher upside, but it will rest more often and you'll of course face pullbacks during the period. And we had one here. That was your halftime oranges. And you've had a moderate rest over here down into this and kind of channel, kind of wedge, depending on where you're at into that. We were a little unsure. We didn't want to go too aggressive. There could have been a third spill, but like here, you had a spill there and you had a softening spill in there and you had a bounce and a smack down there and you had a number of attempts to get it in there. And you have one moment where you say there's a continuation, it could be bear. Kind of here as well, but flat bottomed. It's not typically how you finish. We looked at that and we said, not typically how you finish, but it's turned out a bit of a descending flat bottom squeeze that ended up breaking to the upside. Kind of foxy, not as common, but it's there and it's good. And our natural bias is bull. I hedged with a bit of shorting over at one point to cover things that I didn't want to sell a certain amount, and we closed it once that risk appeared to be gone. It's always worth doing. You just be off risk, you sleep well. If it spills to 35k, because there was a head and shoulder target for that, for me, I would say that risk is largely past and we are good to go for some reassertion. But But I still will make a small comment in terms of all those beautiful drawings that I've made, that low is kind of steep up from this one. Admittedly, the halftime first oranges was a real exhaustion. You'd gone from 9 grand to 64 grand. And remember, this is a key thing that many people forget. Remember, the run-up from the 7, 8, 9 grand on the break for our first cup gold nugget to target is always going to be your best and easiest. What also coincided with that was the dollar in major capitulation. That was the post-COVID events where they were just proliferating to reinflate, UBI, have some money, printer go, brrrt, all the pictures, off it goes, and dollar crash. Dollar, godfather. The godfather of fiats, Bitcoin, of the crypto world, the god market of crypto. Gold, the ultimate godfather of anti-fiats. For 3,000 years, you don't argue with that amount of time. So that's kind of where it's been. This time, you might have sporadic spells of relative strength on the dollar. So the inflation, which is all over America, and an egg on the chin on the Fed's face, like they've been tied up in some sties, and all the farmyard and peasants and threw every egg they could find at rotten tomatoes at these guys. They're looking a little bit filthy faced at the moment. They need to get some credibility back. They will allow the dollar to go up. Rates are going up. We told you on Market Sniper, the debt bond market will fall. A 40-year bull market. We called it, and the pandemic being the key event. And we since said on the 20-year head and shoulders. Why do you have to care about that? Because if the debt starts deflating, that money has to go somewhere. And when the debt deflates, the rates go up. And when the rates go up, people think, hey, I can move my euros where I'm getting shit rates to America where I get slightly less shit rates, and I'm getting some currency appreciation. So it's kind of like levels. There is no real monetary policy, guys. There's no real monetary policy in this world. No one is paying proper savers rates, and it hasn't been for an extended period. It is all a hyperinflated bubble. But in crypto realm, you can get 8%, 6%, hell, in X you can get 30% with staking and locking up your tokens. So suddenly you have one that's almost too good and one that is ridiculously low. It's the fish tank with the glass divider in the middle, and one has got that much water in it and the other one's full with water. Guess what happens as that umbilical cord inflates, and all the little peoples that must come from the traditional world enter the crypto world? They rebalance out. You will get forced higher rates in the old world, and you will get more moderated rates in the crypto staking world. That's what will happen. It's like pulling that divider. Water will find its level. That's what happens. It'll rush down. There is no true saving monetary. There is no gift in terms of postponed consumption. In the marshmallow test for kids, for not eating the marshmallow and getting a second one tomorrow, there is no rate of turn. It's like, don't eat it today and you can still have it tomorrow. And there's no growth. There's no extra for that. You can just have it a little more stale tomorrow. Well, guess what happens? You get a consumption society and everyone eats the marshmallow on the first day it's offered. And that's kind of the marshmallow test in the world of no respect for postponed gratification. So we have shit monetary policy that is not paying anything for people with discipline in one world, and you have it hyper in the others. You guys should be buying cryptos, you should be staking cryptos, you should be getting investment and growth on it, and you should do occasional light leverage, generally with special setups, of which this is part thereof. So I'm not sure that we don't get another test around. This is a good move up, but who's to say we don't hang around, we get back up to these levels and we get tested a bit again. We might churn at this top a bit. It doesn't mean naturally that we've got our secondary high, our secondary low, our final low and our final high, and then this is almost too tight and too good a squeeze. So I'm a little concerned for structure that we just go here and off we go up to the upside. I'd love it to be. Sometimes you can get very strongly ascending underneath structures, and they can melt up as well if they're highly ascending, but they can also fizzle a little bit. Little bit unsure that we just go straight to running the all-time high from here. That's not my first choice. I would watch and be happy to sit on the fence and say broadly we're bullish for now up to these zones. Note how you went. Let's take it down a time level and show you some of the smaller time frame play. which is very, very useful and interesting. We turn that on. That's a mess, isn't it? Look at that. Wow, that's what happens when you work a load on a chart. Drop it in, drop it in, drop it in. So here's what was happening that's kind of interesting, and we said in the community. So first of all, we were getting mixed messages out of this low. So we'll own the fact that we were deeply concerned about this flat bottom. That was a potential threat for further downside. How do you fix a potential threat? You symmetricalize, you squarely go out of it without breaking harshly down. So what you did is a few stabs through a double bottom, and then you stop going to the high side. So that's how that original risk got dissipated. Then we move more into a potential upside. So I'll reduce the emphasis of those lines now. And I will show you how it started to square up. So it tried to be one thing and then turned out to be another. What we then get is we got a first impulse like that. It was a bit of a non-standard, not typical double bottom. So you actually went up and over there. Then you get your second impulse. Guess where it's dying? The 44K. Remember we gave you that number. How many times have we given you that number? Down again. Pretty flat bottomed. So you're in on a rising wedge to a high over there and a low over there. You've got a secondary high there and a very flat low. Again, W bottom. And we call that our third high, and that's our stop. So technically you're in break there. Look at this. This is purely beautiful. I love charts, man. Did I tell you I love charts? I do indeed. Indeed I do. Rising wedge. And it's a type 3 rising wedge. Why? Because you are in a macro. First HVF setup in a new trend. There's your, another color, just so it's slightly more clear, because it was slightly unconventional. Freehand. Let's do freehand. Draw with a pen. Slightly unconventional, but broadly it's that. With a very flat bottom. It decides up. And this is the deceptive thing about first in new trends. They can be flat bottomed sometimes, or they can be very ascending sometimes. They aren't always symmetrical. The key level was the 44K break. So we're talking in the community. We probably think this is broken. I will show you the Ethereum, how well it was set up. We probably think it's broken. It starts to push above. Initially, it was short-term resistance at the 44K. That one just put a toe or two through it. And then bang, you go properly impulsive. Where do you go to? The next key level. What's the main number we gave you as a key level on Bitcoin that is highly significant, where it will rest right now? The neckline of the macro head and shoulders. That's that first impulse, the 64K high. What was it? 47.5. 47.5. There she stands. You smash it from your one key level at 44 to your other key level at 47.5. Now you're resting a little bit. Does that come as a surprise to me? No. It doesn't, because that is HVF method, that is key levels of significance analysis, and that is exactly what crypto and Bitcoin does. And look how this last structure was all around the key level. I'll be speaking at a technical analysis APAC forum tomorrow, early in the morning. White paper, first person. I am a CMT, a chartered market technician, and I'll be telling them about crypto markets because they don't know how and what to do about them, or they're interested in learning my take on volatility, and I'll be bringing this to them. And one of the key things people should learn globally that is far more significant than moving averages, indicators based on mathematics, is key levels of significance. So it's totally simple. It's totally simple, and it's good to understand. That is it. Where's the next level? 50K, but we might need a pause or a wind up here before we go there. And 50K will take you quite close to the previous high, to the left of this chart. So a little bit of interest there to show you on the more recent activity that you got on Bitcoin. This was the telling move. Once it got off its knees, the fat bottom, it kept you guessing by being very descending of structure at first. By the way, we told that also the 40 to 44K range, 40,000, key number there. Look at this 40, how it was a perpetual accumulate. You would have heard, if you were on our Odyssey channel, and you are listening to Reset Sniper. I went and spoke to someone in terms of dealing with a lot of money and offboarding money for purchasing properties and other reasons and various other things. The gambling, the gaming, the sports betting environment. He has 5 clients on an exchange. He has his own exchange with just 5 clients. They're all commercial. They are making, on monthly, he's making 500 per client, 500,000 on average dollars worth of purchases of Bitcoin. That is absolutely huge. Monthly, accumulate. These guys don't want to sell, and they're turning their profits into Bitcoin. They're sick also of the banking system. They are also getting it. They've recognized long run it will be up, and it's all a hodl, and they are net accumulating it. There's going to be some wealthy, big sports betting companies out there. Look, I'm not telling names. That's all I'm saying for now. There's more details. You'd need to have been in the room. But I can tell you, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful charting, and Bitcoin is being accumulated, and it is a bull. It's a macro bull, and we are good. So let's show you that Ethereum. I'm not in Ethereum, but it did set up very nicely. I took some other alts, so we're going to talk about some other alts. And I'll also remind you of something we haven't done in a bit. And we haven't spoken of a bit. This was Ethereum's bottom coming in. What's the key level on my chart screaming at you? That it was absolutely, Ethereum was good value buy sub 3K. Look at the below the 3K levels, how it rolls. You have, whoops, I didn't mean to move you. Go back, please. And it gives me OCD if it doesn't stop exactly on 3,000. That's what you call chartist autistic. It won't do it for me. I'll do it later. These were your few forays sub the 3K. This whole thing was hanging in and around the 3K. In the same way, the structure of Bitcoin was bottom end 40, high end 44, middle 42 somewhere, the locust burger patty in the middle of your New World Order burger, all sitting roughly there. Nice little key level there on the legacy target, which also turned out your stop. That turned out your trigger. Beautiful. It was a perfect primer. It was a rising wedge on Bitcoin. Perfect little squeezy, a fractal of a squeezy within a squeezy. That is how you go Japanesey big, big, big on the R's. Super low risk, highly expensive reward. Boom, and off you go. This should take you into a legacy funnel area around about here on target. Could go further, but it'll probably rest there. Having a wee rest at the moment, but it's done all right. Good break from there if you'd got in from there, and that's an example of Ethereum. But others have done better. Actually, Ethereum has lagged. So I was fortunate enough to be in 4 good ones that have all outperformed Bitcoin, because Bitcoin did 10%. Not shoddy at all. It did beat a number of tokens. So some people might be asking about the dominance. Let's just check in with that coin market cap. It was around 10 when I last looked. Let's take it back to 10.2. You can see Ethereum has lagged. You can see Cardano has lagged. You can see Binance is marginally higher. Solana is who we were in with, and it's done really, really well. So we're happy with that. We put in Algorand as well, and we also had Algos at 10. That's roughly the same as Bitcoin. It was a percentage or two higher actually earlier, so it's come off a tiny bit. Who else are we on? We were on we have a check on the other screen. Brain is empty. So audio, Sol, and Algo, and BNB, Binance token as well. Binance token has fallen out of favor a little bit and been out of the news. It's kind of stayed with Bitcoin. It was also a little bit higher. So we like those. There's bigger structures. They are early. So we'll just show you on Binance and you can do the rest for yourself. Let's show you on Binance why it might have been interesting. And we'll give you that as an alt that we have within the top 10 that we have interest in. So the reason these are interesting is that, like Bitcoin, they have big first and second impulses, and Binance has a much harder feel to a low 2. It came back to the blood basement, as we call it, which is the roof of the 23.6. It's got a big run up. It had a very big run and it fell badly out of favor. It had a bad fall. I don't know if you recall that. First strike of the head and shoulders brought it hard down. Second strike, it had done most of its falling in the first leg. And third strike, it was largely done. So it kind of met its 211 coming back from almost 700. It's quite a big fall. Call it 200. I'm exaggerating slightly, 211 to 692. But you're talking about close to $500. That's a sexy amplitude. And you've got base building period, then a creep up. It just made, which we like to see, the 61.8 on a rebound before fell to a falling wedge, which was Bitcoin's recent weakness. And it sprung out of that quite nicely. So a little bit of an up and over and a chill out somewhere here. We can see going to 900s. Binance to 900s. You're hearing it here. You're hearing it here on Crypto Sniper. You can have him now. You can have him now. 402, 412 is it? What's the score? 420. 420 on Binance right now. And I would say you're probably going to run the 1,000. And I think actually you'll go beyond. With a bit of overperformance. It's at 895, the target for that. But we would see you getting into the 900s at least. And I would say that this overall run will be very well supported. But the difference is you're going to have on and off dollar strength. Now, that was the key thing about the first cup gold nugget. You had a tailwind the whole goddamn way. Cleanest, simplest part of the break is in the macro first cup gold nugget 2 target run. That was your best and easiest. You should have made a lot of money in that period. You will have to put up with more regular little pullbacks and churns. If you over leverage or chasing in at highs, you're going to get beaten up. You're going to get taught lessons. You need to be on early. You need to be heavy and you need to leave it. The money's made in the sitting. You've got to keep your mind and say, I am there through $1,000. I'm not getting shaken off this horse. And you get in and you hold. And moderate leverage as well. Don't be shooting the moon for 10. Otherwise it gets too emotional each day. Oh, yay, boo, oh. You can't do that. You'll find your own point of weakness and you will fail. And leverage does that. If it's too emotional, you keep checking your phone. You're too big. Simple as that. Simple as that. If you're getting dopamine to a P&L move and you're watching a P&L more than the chart, it's too big. Cut it back. Simple as that. You have to be almost indifferent and going on holiday and not bothering and expecting to wake up to some money some point later in the future. Anything else and you're too engaged, you're too big. Simple as that. Too big, boy. And that's the wrong kind of big. You can be big in other departments. You don't have to be a little pippy, but you don't have to be big in size on your trading. So I'm going to show you something on Bitcoin. This is the chart that you've all forgotten about. What is the natural rival? What beeth the natural rival, I say, to crypto in terms of pumpermentals in the traditional world? That big balloons that's still on that side of our umbilical cord and our crypto balloon over here. What is the big closest to natural rival? It would be what, he says. And he turns and he looks at the comments to see if his highly engaged, smart community of YouTube followers are ready to tell him who that may be. Answer in the chat. I am watching, I am waiting, and I will keep waiting until we get a bright spark who gives me the correct answer. So tell me now, who is our rival? What asset class or category, he says. Yeah, I think the man who says IXIC is probably on the money. Hex is a crypto. Metals are metals, and they are lagging a little bit. The NASDAQ index is the pumpermentals other thing. Gold has not been particularly pumpermental. The NASDAQ is one thing that is kind of a lot bigger market cap and has been quite a good performer relative. So if you're talking to risk on, what are people getting into in the traditional world? They're buying tech stocks, they're buying tech, and they're hoping for everything to go up better. So no, there isn't, and I'm talking about a highly liquid. Wine and vintage cars are not part of the answer. Thank you very much. I do love your eccentricities, but you've got to be a little bit with me on this. What is the big hodl and grow and hold? It's a tech stock portfolio of NASDAQ tech stocks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you back to Bitcoin. and I'm going to do it with Bitstamp, teensy weensy little stamp that has some real history, and I'm going to divide it by the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ. Let's see if we have what we have for you. Maybe even better. No, that was better. Seem to have lost it already. Divide by the NASDAQ. So what we're doing is comparing how many Bitcoins you needed to buy 1 unit of the NASDAQ indice. Not that I'm suggesting you should be doing that. I'm not suggesting you should be doing that. But what I will be telling you is showing you how Bitcoin, how we determined in the last couple of days that on balance of probabilities, Bitcoin was going to be going likely up. So this is the history of Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ. This is the history of Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ. And what you got was a much better final squeeze when we were looking at first cup gold nugget. Here. And the target was there. And that was your best and cleanest run. Your second interim was here, and you shot through and you pull back. And this says, this number over here is when you first broke, you were sub. You only got, for 1 Bitcoin, you only got 0.94 of a NASDAQ portfolio. That means if there was X amount of Apple, X amount of Google, Y amount of all the others, Microsoft, you only got 94% of the whole basket for 1 unit. The target we had was around about 3.4. That means Bitcoin was going to become 3.5 times larger than it was down here. Because it was at 0.94. It couldn't even get you a full one. 1 Bitcoin later will get you 3.5 or 3.4, starting from the low 90s, mid 90s. So this was a really strong, powerful, and very unchallenging move. That same target on the NASDAQ was the perfect neckline for the head and shoulder. And when the NASDAQ started going down and Bitcoin was holding up, showing relative strength, this was already moving back up. So it sometimes helps to be in a community where we check our cross valuations. Also looking at BTC Euro, BTC Yen, BTC other currencies, and we could see there was a fair amount of dollar strength in there, and the structures were better against the yen, better against everything else, and that on likelihood Bitcoin was holding its own and actually inching up against the others, but not yet against the dollar. And it just took a dollar to rest and we would go. And the dollar is resting today. So you see, fine friends, you might want to escape the traditional world, but the traditional world is coming right after you. He's running down that pipe, calling your name. He wants to play too. He says you can't have your own money. I'm coming to regulate you and tell you what you can buy, when you can buy it. I'm going to be bringing central bank digital tokens. I'm going to be doing all of this stuff. And every place you run for freedom, you can know in advance that I created that little cave for you, and I'm going to come and own it the minute you run in it. And now I know who you are. You're trying to escape me. Therefore, you are a money launderer, a sinner, a right-wing nationalist, and an all-round bastard who deserves more tax extraction, more inflation, and a gulag somewhere for not wanting to dance with the needle crafters. That is the nature of the game. So let's go and take you further into the, well, what was I thinking of? The NASDAQ versus Bitcoin. This cross was showing us, that was the key point I was making, this cross was showing us that Bitcoin is likely to go back in again strong. I was then talking about Bitcoin against other currencies, which will show you, for example, let's take a Bitcoin Euro and drop it into this most recent dilemma that we were wondering. And again, you can see that actually against the Euro, we're quite a bit higher. This has already gained the highs of the previous fall. While if we pivot back to, I'll leave those scribbles on there, if we pivot back to the Bitcoin dollar or the Bitcoin tether, it's not quite as good. It's not bad. It's almost there. It's not as big as I made out it to be. The weakest currency so far has certainly been Bitcoin. So What about dominance? They cried. So let's talk about dominance. That's probably a bit intense. We'll start on the daily. I'm not sure it's updated on the daily. 42.76. Let me go to the 4 hourly. Yeah, it has. So there has been some sign of Bitcoin regaining. This is what I typically call a half pipe, which is the beginning of some bottoming. But then instead of finishing the pipe, you went into a grind line rising wedge squeeze. You had a sell-off out of that. And again, we've gone a little bit staircasey squeeze, which has a short pop, but it's not as good as finishing the other part of the rounding bottom that we were hoping it might do. Squeeze, pop. A couple of key levels here. 42.60, that all seem to have been tested, and now broken above. So you have got above a bit of a key level. That was resistance there. Resistance there, you've got above that. So you could hold above that, but I'm not sure for how long and whether you'll get back up to these levels. I do expect in this overall move, though, there will be one spell of dominance where there will be a little bit of resetting back up for Bitcoin, only for it to then surrender more ground and make new lows. So the long-term trend for me is lower, but there will be forays of real store of value buying, and for that, most people will chase Bitcoin. I refer you to my comments on the sports betting guys that are accumulating at a rapid rate BTC. So what else was I going to talk to you about? I had a chain of thought and it suddenly left me. Let me check the comments. Yep, heading off grid as soon as the bull is over. I know that feeling, but well, yeah, you need to start making those plans. Pension funds are broke. Yep, they are. I'm afraid if you're counting on private pensions that you don't control, they're probably stuffed with debt. Looking further, we are heading off grid. Yep. Deutsche Bank comments. Yep. So Bitcoin, I don't expect to have banned. I think the outright crushing of Bitcoin, I don't overly fear that. I think too many big investors have got in. I think too many of the big people of the control structure are already in. So they're building wealth with that being part of it. So I don't think overall that's going to be a problem. Let's show you the total draws. So the total draws, this is total including Bitcoin. Again, 3 impulse wedge. We are the creators, the namers of the great 3 impulse wedge, and grinding out marginally lower lows here till eventually you had a floor on that 3rd impulse. Should do them in different colors actually. Real floor, marginally lower low, marginally lower, marginally lower low. Squeezy, squeezy. Come up against our capping descending grind line that was there, and break and momentum. So the key level that I want to also highlight that was broken is we're back above the 2 trillion mark. This was a key level many times. Broken with momentum when broken. Iceberg through, resisted, broken with momentum. It's a seminal moment. More likely after a rest, I see higher upside. I see us going back up to the 2.2. A strong second impulse here would be good. And I see it happening. And Bitcoin doing quite a reasonable amount of the percent there and holding its own on dominance, even inching up, is being pretty good. So a lot of the crappy, really low shitcoins must be the ones not growing. Because most of the top 25 are close to Bitcoin, 1 or 2 are a little bit higher. But real garbage is probably just having small bumps. And as a result of the total cap, it's the big guys in the top 25. You'll have a few high flyers outside that, I'm sure. But it's a safe place to play. It's a safe place to play. So total 2 looks good. And total 3, which excludes even Ethereum, looks equally good. And you can see that by the time you got to the 3rd point, in this case, there was a hard floor. This was already failed to make a new low, and you were skidding into it with marginally lower lows. So it was losing momentum, and you got your rising wedge up to that key level, and you've had your bump, and you've broken out of that channel, which is more of a wedge on a regular scale. Bit of a heavy zone though here, because we did have an inverted structure, yeah? But we felt, no, it wasn't going to make its target, and I don't think it will. Macro bull. So, what questions do you have for me? I was going to show you the dollar. That's where I lost my chain of thought. I was going to show you the dollar. You say, what? We hate the dollar. It's bad. It's our enemy. Well, there's much to be learned. There's much to be learned by understanding what the dollar is up to, so we will do it. So I will show you a slightly bigger picture of this. So this is what's going to happen. My channels, the market sniper, I separated these things. Crypto was a separate realm. They were different people. They didn't care. They were never FX traders or equity traders. They were different people. And then the FX traders didn't trust or believe in this crypto thing. And then there were the conspiracy theorists that didn't do either of the other things and just said, you know, they killed Kennedy. And we had to create separate rooms for them, for all of these things. And all of these people are now having to meet in the middle. And you realize that once again, all these channels are merging into the same thing. More in Crypto Sniper, you're going to have to hear about the other two. More in Reset, you're going to have to hear about the other two. More in market, the traditional market, you're going to have to hear about crypto and the great game of central bank digital tokens. So we expected this to top out at the 94.5 key round number there. It's also on the upside of a broadening structure, which suggests it could have a little bit of a pullback. You can see it bullish, broadening, all these highs captured here. You can learn about broadening structures. Click on the link below, book a chat, and you can see what use they will play in your trading. So a little bit of a rest likely, but you have both a W here with a neckline there, and you have a far larger in orange left shoulder, W head, possibly a dip down for a small amount of right shoulder, which may well be smaller than this one. And then that would give you a very big move, 97, 97, a very, very big move on the dollar index. So that's going to put a little bit of the dampeners on natural gas and oil a little bit, but there's still huge inflation. Those things will still be going up, but they'll go up on the dollar flat days and the off days. They might even go a bit down on the dollar strong days. So Bitcoin and all the other cryptos are still going to face a slightly stronger dollar overall, in our opinion. But where you will really get value is if you're in Europe, you're in South Africa, you're in Turkey, you're in Brazil, you're in India, you're all of them. It's not going to look like any of these things are getting cheaper. Not your oil, not your Bitcoin, and not your dollar. And that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. You need to get all your stuff out of your indigenous country. You should be doing things that protect yourselves, of which we have many things that we have done for community members. They've met each other, in fact, at one of the locations. We have very reliable people that are partners with us that you'd be introduced to if you decide to protect and to have multiple jurisdiction. You'll protect yourself from taxation, excessive capital gains. You will have a forex trading account, a crypto trading account in your corporate structure's names, where you will retain that gains for as long as the rules are as they are. And I think it's a plan that should get you through 3 to 5 years, and that's the key growth. You're going to be making money during this period. You want to keep some of it. You don't want to have a tax bill the minute you're about to buy your ideal villa, only to find that your German country has been tracking all you do and your KYC has all been forwarded to them, and they think it's time you gave stuff to them. Because, okay? Man up. Just do it. Whoops, let's draw with a pen. So this overall structure, just more on the dollar here, because this overall is going to be I think the dollar milkshake theory that we've spoken about in Market Sniper will potentially come to fruition. You might notice that there is a much larger continuation pattern. How does the system die and they go into central bank digital tokens? This is often something I talk about more in Reset, and the other channels, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a look-see, and you can go investigate them. Go and subscribe on Reset on Odyssey. The link will be shared below. It's actually under the Market Sniper, where we save all our crypto, all our market, and we put Reset on there. You will learn that actually we think this could in fact be a big structural squeeze that sees the dollar go up. Could the central bank's digital tokens be absolutely demanded by the rest of the world on the death of the financial system with the dollar climbing? Could it go up on a basis? Could everything blow up on the basis of the pain that's inflicted on the rest of the world in a dollar strong environment? Could that be the scenario? Because I'm looking for my ideal chart. I think I did it on a different template. I got so many templates. Let's have a look here. No. Let's check this one. I have a target of through 111 for the dollar index. Many of you, that'll mean nothing as a number, but I can tell you it will be deeply, deeply painful for most. No, I've done it all somewhere. I won't keep you waiting. Yeah, it's one of my many drawers. Inversions. There it is. There it is. Found it. So this is actually a monthly dollar index. What does this mean for crypto? Well, it means the godfather of fiats could be more strong during this period. That's how they'll mask the rising of gold, because in dollar terms it won't go up as much. The rising of natural gas, it won't look as much. And they will say climate change did it, climate change did it. The fact that they just proliferated fiat in every major nation on such a huge scale so that now you need more of it to buy that stuff. No, 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 climate change. Forest fire. It was a forest fire. You did it. It's dry. You did it. You ordered too much plastic. The Amazon packaging, remember? Yes. Okay, so own up and own your shit. We didn't do it as the central bankers. Don't be stupid. So over here, 111 is a great target, and this is what we kind of expected. We forecast way back then when I was still in other climates. It did dip a little harder, a little faster. 6 trillion can do that, you know, and Biden coming with another 3.5. It's almost like the dollar's going up. You mean only 3.5? Way, let's pump it. He's only creating a new 3.5 thousand billions. You got to laugh. You got to laugh the insanity of this shell game that they're perpetuating at us, these psychopaths. Anyway, over there, break up to 111. Last hard ceiling that we had was the dot-com boom, which was around about the 2000, 2001 at the top. And then the dollar fizzled. They were in trouble. They needed weakness. They came down, 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 down. Then they had that break up from there to there. Well, we're just saying another quick break could be on the cards. It could be quite quick. We've had it quick before. You guys have sat with the dollar in a range for a pretty long time. Let me just tell you, tops and tails, you've been stuck largely in 92 to not even 100 to 99, halfway in between there. 90% of the trade since 2015. That's 6 years ago. 6 years, 92 to 99. That's nothing. It's a nothing burger. Look at this move. From here, you were over there, you're at 79.5. Pop, you actually hit a high of 102. 79 to 102. Now that's a move. Okay, so people have forgotten that currencies can get far more volatile. And they could call for the end of the dollar and to introduce their central bank digital tokens. Crypto will go up. All these other things could go up. You need to be hedged. The value of being long dollar against the likes of the euro, as the euro, and who knows what the reason will be. They've got plenty of existing reasons. The euro banking, the Italians will complain, the French will stop in the streets, all sorts of things. Don't forget, Britain has left as a contributor. I don't know quite what the divorce settlement is, but they won't be paying near as much money, I would imagine or hope. But these guys are done. The euros are bad. Check our euro Swiss franc call. So this is something that you'll have to watch for. You don't want to be too aggressive. If you have a hedging trade that is long a commodity, which is actually short the dollar, long the dollar against the euro, you are effectively long commodities against the euro because you've hedged out the dollar effect. And when the dollar is strong, your Bitcoin might go down or your alt, but relative to that, your euro will be going down that you're short of, because they are like a seesaw. They aren't friends. They're on there's a linchpin there, and they're on the fulcrum. So what's good for the euro sees more money going to the euro. Most of that money flows out of the dollar. What's good for the dollar, most of the money that flows into the dollar will be out of the euro. That is the thing. So you don't ever get them both bad. You've never had a euro and a dollar crash on the same day. It just doesn't happen, because they are, and they don't both pump on the same day. It's just not the seesaw. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to be one, and it will be Eastern currencies as well, and FX emerging. So beware. Get into your crypto. It's time to be long, and also hedge so that your days aren't so bad. You have something that's going well on the dollar strong days. Any other final questions before I finish? Don't forget, book a call, be part of our community, take in the individual trades. That's what we do. Building wealth during reset times, protecting wealth during reset times. We have real partners that can support you in that. It will require investment. It's not after you've made the profits that you can have the protection. If you've done it all in your personal name, you need to think about it before. You need to make those investments before. There's form filling. It takes a little bit of time. You've got to be smart, guys. You've got to be smart. The man who plans has a plan. A man with a plan beats a genius without one, let me tell you. Okay, all the crypto noobs thinking they're going to be rich. Yeah, they're going to be taxed. Mass burning ritual in Australia a couple of years ago. They tried to burn the whole place down. Ted Dougal, yep, pretty reset-y comment, but I wouldn't disagree. Never mind California, don't mention them. Massive issues with legacy assets in the EU banking system. Deutsche Bank, Italy, yeah, the old legacy Italian banks. The red skies of Sydney. Sol, ADA are for the blue pot. So I have Sol in my blue pot. So let's finish on crypto, because this is a crypto channel. So who do I have in my blue pot? I have Sol. I did take some ADA. I'm more excited. Sol's my sweetheart, I think, at the moment. I'm more excited by Sols generally. Look at that chart. Underperforming. Try harder. It's not an absolute melt up, kiddies. It's probably, this is going to probably be what I'd call a relative high to move with regular ups and downs. None of these alts are melt ups, but I really like that. That was the smile on my dial, the half smile, a sniper half smile after my autism half stroke. You got to go into that low and you go in like that. It's kind of, and it was a squeezy and squeezy as well. So I was happy to take a little bit of a run on that, but that's, you know, it's not moon stories. I think this goes up for an RH2. I don't think this is escape momentum that takes you through that high. So I would be looking, you know, hold in there, then you'll probably have a reasonable easing again on that one. While some of the others that I did show, Binance was actually one of them. Kind of unpopular now, kind of out of season, like the old nightclub that nobody goes to anymore. I think it could actually shine up a little bit for them on that chain, because they are already at what I'd call a low 2. So, you know, it's not going to win me any cool points, but Binance probably is quite well technically set up. And it will win you cool points when you're making cool bananas money. And that was quite a good break on the same time frame. It's pretty assertive, that. It's impressive, personally, I think. Technically, it's impressive. If you compare, and I like Sol, I think, but I just think Sol's done an immense amount. You could have a bit of catch-up on Sol from Binance. That's 3 decent candles. That would be a very strong third high here. Easily be very close to where the previous high. So that's the alts. So I've got a bit of a blue pot for that. And yeah, I think that's it. Did I mention audio? That's a little bit of a secret love of ours in the community. We don't know what it does. I don't have too much of a clue. Smarter people than me in my community probably do. We mention it. I have a feeling it's going to do rather well. But it's an interesting little bump. Part of me still thinks it might need one more dip. But it could also have done the Bitcoin, you know, the flat bottom move. But it's not super strong here. This can all be taken back with a dollar strong period. And then you've been washed out. So be a little bit careful, but I like these upward moves. Real momentum in structure. And a high second. A very strong, stiff spine. Chest out. Geezer. Pelvic bone to the fore with a bit of a pubic mooch. Yeah, I think he's got the right kind of structure. He's up for it. He's there in the center of the gangbang. He is. Let's have a look. Also against Bitcoin. We quite like it. But a little bit hairy on the wrong side of hairy. He's on the wrong side of hairy. Of those top wicks. So it's still a little feeling that he could come lower. But again, against Bitcoin, kind of hoping this would be a little fractal one here and that he would go out of there. But he could also go a little bit down. But just want to keep on your watch list. There's a huge pump coming out of this thing at some point. It may not be tomorrow though. So there you go. We've given you a couple of tokens to play with. Atom looks good in terms of thoughts on Cosmos. Atom looks good. It's got a structure. We have that one inside our community and we're watching it. So I'll show you that one too. And that's the last of the insiders ones we're sharing. It's on a smaller time frame. So it's like that. Looks decent. A little bit bloated in the middle here, but it's fine. It should be fine. That's all like one into there. A little bit. It's resting. I think it'd come back a bit, but I think it could give you a decent third and then you go from there. There's quite a big natural geometry to that. So that's technically as interesting. Atom. Okay, guys, don't forget, book a link, hit below. You can book a call through hitting the link as it is shared. Go only to the Market Sniper website. That is links that are in our YouTube show notes. Play safe. Remember, the inflation taxation is coming for you. Then the marginal taxation is coming for you as inflation pushes you into higher taxation. So you'll be pushed into the higher taxation above your costs of coffee and all of those things. Because burning the jungle and the green will be biting you from below. You're going to get squeezy Japanesey. You're sitting in rands, you're sitting in rupees, you're sitting in Brazilian reals, you're sitting in all sorts of soon-to-be confetti. All I can say to you is you need to get positioned correctly and you need to protect yourself. They want to tax everybody. They want to uniform it. They want to split it. The central bank digital tokens are coming. They may do it on dollar strength. It's going to try hide in America the cost of inflation. As their currency goes up, they'll be able to buy more with less money. It'll hide the fact that that transitory inflation story looks like garbage, and they're going to pass that inflation on to the rest of the world. So, to my friends, that doesn't mean the Americans are going to get a free ride. You will still feel inflation. They won't successfully pass it all, but it'll be even worse for the rest of the world. Get ready, get positioned. We're here to help you to build wealth in reset times. Thank you for watching. I say goodbye.